All right, so when you think about a startup story, what usually comes to mind? Big money, right? Venture capital, slick pitch decks. Well, I want you to forget all that. We're about to dig into an origin story that completely flips that script. This is the Ckonnect story.
Wow. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. That right there tells you everything you need to know. We're not talking about some sanitized corporate beginning. This story starts somewhere way more raw, way more human. And that one detail, it frames absolutely everything that follows.
So let's just tick off the usual boxes for a startup, shall we? A big brand VC pitch? Nope. Inherited millions? Not a chance. A family business to fall back on? Not here. All those typical launch pads that founders usually get, they're just not part of this story. See, Ckonnect wasn't born out of privilege. It was born from pure, raw necessity.
Okay, so to really get Ckonnect, we have to go back. And I mean, we have to start at the very bottom. This first part of the story, it's not about the wins. It's about the fall. It's about hitting a brick wall hard and then figuring out what the heck you do next. So let's meet our founders, Akanksha and Aishwarya. Both of them were at a major crossroads, just getting slammed by their own professional crises. For Akanksha, boom, life just pulled the rug out from under her and she lost her job. For Aishwarya, it was more of a slow burn, you know? That feeling of being totally undervalued in a system that rewards the loudest person in the room, not the one doing the honest work. Two totally different paths, but they were both heading straight for the same cliff.
And here's the thing. They were good at their jobs. Two lawyers really competent at what they did, loved by some of the people they worked with, but just overlooked by most. They weren't failing. They were just invisible in the grand scheme of things. And I think that's a feeling a lot of us can relate to, right? Doing solid work day in and day out and just feeling like nobody really sees it.
So every great story has that one moment, that pivot point where everything changes. But for the Ckonnect founders, it wasn't some brilliant business idea that struck them like lightning. Nope, it was a full-blown existential crisis. And it all started with one single, incredibly tough question they asked themselves.
And this is it. If our jobs vanish tomorrow, what's left of us? Man, that question just cuts right to the bone, doesn't it? It's not about your salary, it's not about your job title, it's about your identity. Who are you, really, when the thing you do all day is suddenly gone? And the answer they came to? It was brutal. It was stark. It was just nothing. One single word that summed up this terrifying, hollow feeling of emptiness. Think about it. All that work, all those hours, all that effort poured into someone else's company. And when it's gone, what's left? Nothing.
So what did that nothing really mean? Well, it wasn't about money. It was this deep realization that they had no legacy, no platform, not even a name they'd built for themselves. They hadn't built a single thing with their own two hands. They were just, cogs in someone else's machine. And that realization had to be crushing.
Okay, but here's where the story takes a turn. Because that feeling of nothingness, that despair, it could have ended them. But it didn't. It did the opposite. It lit a fire. This next part of the story is all about taking that despair and turning it into an act of pure defiance. So when Ckonnect started, it was never, ever just about a business plan on a piece of paper. For them, it was so much more. Step one, it was rebellion. A rebellion against the whole system that made them feel invisible. Step two, it was resistance. Pushing back against this idea that your corporate job is the only thing that defines your worth. And step three, it was basically therapy, a way to heal themselves by building something from the ground up. And this quote, this is basically the soul of the entire company right here. I mean, come on. It's not about waiting for an invitation or asking for permission. It's about taking control, building your own thing, and, this is the most important part, making sure there are chairs for everybody else who's been left standing on the sidelines. So, okay, they've got this fire, this defiant spirit, but what did they actually decide to build? Well, that's what we're getting into now. And here's a hint. Their vision wasn't about building an empire to dominate a market. It was about building an ecosystem, a community.
Yeah, their vision is all about people, not profit margins. They imagined a world where students from colleges that aren't so fancy still get a real shot. A world where privacy and compliance is actually seen as a badass, in-demand skill. A world where workplaces actually run on culture and kindness and real humanity. And maybe most importantly, a world where the founders are real, flawed, transparent people you can actually talk to.
And this manifesto they came up with, it's like the anti-corporate playbook. Look at this. They're not just building a business, they're building belonging. They're not chasing money, they're chasing meaning. They're not trying to be perfect, they're focused on being present. And they didn't come from big names, they're here to make one. Every single point is a direct challenge to the status quo.
You know, it's easy to have a cool mission statement on a wall, but what really keeps you going when things get tough? What's the real fuel in the tank? For Ckonnect, it's not some abstract goal. It's the very real, specific people they're doing all this for.
And let's be clear, this isn't for some LinkedIn likes or a founder flex, as they call it. The motivation isn't about looking cool or feeding an ego. It's completely outward-facing. It's all about who they can help.
So who are they doing it for? This is who. They're doing it for that kid in a Tier 3 law college who thinks they'll never make it. For the young professional in compliance wondering if this career is even worth it. For the student who doesn't have perfect English fluency and feels like they're not corporate enough. They do it for someone just like them, a little lost, but also a little brilliant.
And really, it all boils down to this one simple feeling. That person who's just needing anyone to look at them and say, come here, you belong. That's the emotional heart of this whole thing. Forget the products, forget the services. The ultimate thing Ckonnect is offering is belonging.
So, let's just put all the pieces together. This whole incredible journey. Where did it start? It started with two broken people, feeling totally invisible, totally left behind by the very system they were a part of.
But out of that shared brokenness grew one bold dream. A dream that was way bigger than just the two of them. It was for every single person who's ever felt like an outsider looking in.
And they went all in. I'm talking zero backup plan. No safety net, no plan B. It was either make this new path work or go back to that awful feeling of nothing.
So what was their starting capital? Their biggest asset? It wasn't money. It wasn't connections. It was just this infinite, unbreakable belief in what they were doing and who they were doing it for.
So you take two broken people, you add one bold dream, you subtract any kind of backup plan, and you multiply it by infinite belief. That's not just some clever formula. That, right there, is Ckonnect.